This episode is part of a two-part series covering Oracle Jet timelines. In a prior episode, we defined Oracle Jet and described the PeopleTools infrastructure that makes Oracle Jet timelines possible. In this episode, we will review the code and configurations necessary to produce the timeline visualization. What we're going to produce is a timeline showing an employee's employment history. First, we need some data to visualize. So let's start there. We will be visualizing employment history for a specific employee. So in Application Designer, I have a standard SQL statement that selects employment history from the PS job record. Notice the criteria for empl ID and empl record, so I can connect this query to a specific employee's job data. We will also want a few SQL statements for labels, etc., as you see in this project. Next, we need some HTML definitions to help us import and use Oracle Jet. For this scenario, we will use Oracle Jet libraries delivered with PeopleTools. Now, PeopleTools 857 includes Oracle Jet version 4, which is a bit dated, but is current enough to match the Oracle Jet cookbook. Oracle Jet includes required.js for JavaScript dependency management, and we can find it in our PeopleSoft web server. But I imported it into our project just to make it easier to reference. My required.js configuration points to my local delivered Oracle Jet installation, but with a twist. It is common to rename sites between dev, test, and prod, so I have a JavaScript fragment here to calculate the Oracle Jet install location at runtime. Otherwise, the required.js configuration shown here is a pretty standard Oracle Jet configuration. And finally, we have the HTML definition that will generate the timeline. This code starts by importing the Oracle Jet style sheet. Normally, I would hard code this as a link element, but chose to keep it dynamic to allow for site name changes. I also chose not to import the style sheet because the style sheet references resources such as fonts and images. Scrolling down a little, we see the typical knockout view model. Oracle Jet leverages knockout for two-way data binding. At the bottom, we see the tiny little HTML fragment that will generate our beautiful visualization. These instructions combine Oracle Jet web components with knockout two-way data binding to render the final visualization. Okay, so we still have some unanswered questions. For example, how does someone trigger this HTML fragment? And how does the data from the SQL we reviewed earlier get injected into this chart? The final piece that ties this all together is an iScript. iScripts are one of my favorite PeopleTools features, and I have written extensively about iScripts. I consider iScripts to be the PeopleTools equivalent of the Swiss Army knife. You can do anything you want with an iScript. But what is it? Basically, it is a PeopleCode function you can invoke from a URL. Here, I am requesting an employee ID and empl record so I can fetch an employee's work history. Scrolling down a bit, you can see I am using the new JSON Builder PeopleCode native JSON support to convert data into JavaScript notation. We end this script by merging our HTML template with JSON data and writing the response to the client web browser. But still, how does a user access this timeline visualization? Great question. We have lots of options, and for this example, I chose to wire up the visualization through classic related content. Now, we have written extensively about iScripts and have included links to those resources within the show description. Likewise, we scrolled through several code listings and have included links to the source code within the video description. Now, If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe for more content. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.